what do you feel to date has been your best investment and also one of your worst?
The honest answer, the best investment I have made is always in the life that I live. So in my lifestyle. People are too orientated by money, and it's actually the quality of life that you live is the goal of everything. So my investments in my quality of life, you know, I live in nice houses, I live in a nice place, and I've gone out of my way to solve for that. Like I said, I wanted a tropical beach, so I went and found a way of doing it. I wanted to live in the Mediterranean, and I found a way of doing it. Which is that macro mindset of you kind of make your future. So that is my best investment by far, because it's the most important thing. And paying off my first mortgage, I bought a second home in Spain. It wasn't very expensive. It was quite a big house, but with my bonus, I bought the house, so it was in cash, and then I know I'd won the game because I could work in a bar, I could lose my job, anything could happen, and I'd be fine. Those kind of investments are the really meaningful ones. So yes, you know, crypto, Ethereum has been my best ever investment from a P&L standpoint by a long way. And I've had some other great trades in my life, and I've had some absolutely terrible ones. My worst investment was not even single investments, because I don't really remember them. It's when in 2009, I overrode my macro framework when my economic indicators were starting to say the recession had bottomed and that the worst of the crisis was over. I overrode it with emotion and said, yeah, but we're going to have a double dip. This is always going to be worse. And so I remained short, and I didn't do what my homework was telling me, all of my macro framework. And that was a mistake I didn't make in 2020. You know, I closed out all of those trades that I put on, the short trades, by end of March, April, almost at the lows. Now, I'm not saying I'm a hero for doing it, but I stuck to my framework.
And, you know, something that's interesting about that, you mentioned the emotions, and this is a common battle for many investors, even myself, where I'm looking at the charts, I'm looking at the data, but my emotions are saying to keep going or do something different. And I've sometimes fallen into that trap. I'm sure many of my listeners as well who are investing in crypto and stocks. How do you feel? How do you think is the best way to overcome those emotions and to bring yourself back to, you know, a level playing field in your mind, so to speak?
Crypto has been the best single way to teach myself how to do it. Because I've got a big picture framework, I've got a long-term risk reward, and I've learned to look at, I mean, I've got I've got an hourly chart of Ethereum next to me, and I watch it and I think, oh my God, it's going to roll over, but I disassociate that from my P&L. I don't even look at my P&L. I look at it occasionally when the market's at all-time highs, but I just ignore it, because looking at the P&L makes you think, oh my God, I made and lost this much money today. And that becomes an emotional state of fear or euphoria. But if you're just looking at dispassionate price action, it's different. And I haven't always done that. And it's different with crypto because I don't use leverage. So I don't have to obsess over the price. But in macro, you tend to use a lot of leverage otherwise. And then you have to obsess over the price because you're going to get into deep trouble if it goes against you. So again, crypto's really taught me the joys of long-term investing, which I've always been a long-term investor, without leverage in something volatile enough that gives you high returns. And it's amazing.
Now, can you tell us what's in your crypto portfolio? And I'm assuming it's maybe a lot. So maybe your top coins that you're holding. You mentioned Ethereum.
It's fascinating. So my structure of how I built my portfolio is I started with Bitcoin, moved into Ethereum, switched most of my Bitcoin into Ethereum. And then I built a basket of alternatives, and I just took an equally weighted basket of like 10 large cap, because I don't know, you know. And then I watched it. I added Solana at some point into that. And didn't do anything else, just left it like that. What's fascinating is my second largest holding now, from an equally weighted basket, second to Ethereum, Sandbox. I haven't bought any. It just went up 20x in the last month and a half, which is crazy. I mean, I would not have my second largest. I would not take that position, the second largest position in Sandbox, but that's where it is. And I'm not rebalancing for the time being. I'm just letting this phase play out and see where these things go. So yes, it's a mix. And so I've got some DeFi protocols, you know, the usual Aave and whatever, you know, stuff like Uniswap. And then I've got stuff like Polkadot, just all the stuff you'd expect. Nothing interesting. It gets interesting because I put metaverse bets on 6 months ago. Those things exploded, Decentraland and Sandbox. And I have some social token bets with Chili's and Rally. So those are slightly different because they're more macro thematic bets of what I think future things are. But it's hard now with Sandbox because it's gone up so much. It's like, do I have enough conviction to have my second largest position in this?
Right. Like you, I'm diversified. I believe there will be multiple winners, similar to like the dot-com boom, your Googles, your Amazons, but there's going to be the pets.coms in there, and some are going to fail. You know, when you turned more bullish on Ethereum than Bitcoin, I know a lot of Bitcoin maximalists came after you, which, you know, it is what it is. And, you know, you brought a really interesting theory to the mix there, why we're seeing this type of maximalist, tribalist activity. You mentioned Metcalfe's law and because of the financial incentive. Can you talk to us a bit about that? And, you know, do you see this continuing, or it's just a maturation that needs to happen over time?
I'm not entirely sure it'll ever change. And the reason being is Metcalfe's law basically values the network on the number of nodes on the network, and they're basically that number of connections between the nodes. So let's say you're an owner of Bitcoin, which I am. You are highly incentivized to protect the network at all costs and to spread the gospel of the network. Because the more people join the network, the more the value of the network goes up. But that's behavioral incentive 101. That's behavioral economics. So it's incredibly powerful. So it will always drive people who only see that one thing. Because A, it's given them some return, and they want to defend it at all costs.